mate. So I also say I've got 9 pings in TFR, and I just haven't. I can't find them anywhere. So weird. What the hell?
Right, I'm just gonna open the stream back up again because I think it stopped and it's gonna restart now.
Be playing it safe, no. Slide out the garage. I got 100 cars. It's for the underdogs. The teller just asked me how I want the cash. I told him 100 large. I want them gold wraps. Print it up double R.
Right, so point us back again. I think we're just about to start now. As you can see, the lobby's filled up a bit more. We're just at 5 more late now, so we can't be far away from starting now. Just hit the check how many we actually have registered for Formula 1 this evening. Formula 1 16 registered. We've currently got a lobby of 14.
Fine, check we need. Boom. Check is to BS. I forgot.
So
Oh, there it is.
just while we're waiting in line, any early predictions for the F2 championship this year? I know obviously I think everyone's going to be a bit of a tighter call, but based on who you know is going to be away from F2 for for a few break and whatever, what's your sort of provisional standards? I see Hyperghost has put in his provisional standards in the F2 chat, so just wanted to have your take on it really.
I mean, I think that's his. I think he's actually just gone and worked out the actual standings, not provisional, not predicted. I mean, we've only got out at the moment, or that I can find, the standings after Bahrain, which puts Haribo first, you second, and me third.
There was
But I
actually
know
some provisional
somewhere.
standings put out after Australia, but that we haven't
Where are
had the
they?
official standings yet since we haven't had the penalties through from Australia yet. So we'll wait.
Do you know where the provisional ones are? I've seen them before, but I can't remember
yeah,
what they are.
I can't think of where they are.
News? The news? No. Nope. They're somewhere. Hmm.
Okay, well apparently we're not even streaming right now. But I could have sworn we were. You see on my screen, streaming.
Hang on.
So are we? Yeah, it says we're live.
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah, can you see it on there?
I'm on it now.
For some reason, it's not coming up on my phone.
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. Right, we are live. Oh, brilliant. Right, we can go back to the F1 game now. Just a few technical hiccups this evening. It's all what happens when you're an amateur live streamer, I suppose.
Oh
Right.
no, I've got PTSD.
Right, here we go then. We're in SQ1 now. We're just waiting for some cars to come out on track so we can have a look. Me and you missed a weekend commentating together last weekend. I had records last weekend for the F2. So
Yes, what? No, for the F1 you had, didn't you?
yeah, well, yeah, sorry for the F1. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah. So
I hopped in there at the start, and then I just went and raced and died. So,
yeah. Do you wish you stayed on commentary with me?
no, I actually wanted to race. Genuinely, I wanted to race. I would have raced the F2, but I was like driving home, smoking. But I would have, yeah.
Well, we're gonna be back on F1 duties tonight. We're gonna be underway shortly. 11 minutes of SQ1, and the first car out on track. It looks to me is going to be an Aston Martin. It is the Aston Martin of B29. A nice and vocal character in the TFR group chats. He's going to set the first lap here in SQ1. This week, short qualifying.
So, as an Oracle, what's your predicted for the F2 Championship?
To be honest with you, it's all gone a bit topsy-turvy, hasn't it? Really, I think your mate Michael has a good chance if he can, get in attendance for enough races. I think what it's going to come down to in F2 is attendance. You know, those drivers that are placing highest, although they might not be finishing first every week, are placing in the top 3 or 4 and attending every week, have the highest chance of winning the championship, in my opinion. Who that's going to be, I don't know. I mean, like we say, the provisional standards at the moment. Where have they gone again? Here. Yeah, see Ronnie at the top, then Mikey, then me, and then Hyperghost. I mean, I don't know what absences we've got planned for the rest of it, but I'm there every time. So, do I be cocky and go back myself? I don't know. It's a bit too early for that. I think there's still a lot of tracks that I'm not comfortable with coming up. So. I don't want to make an early prediction because there's still lots of racing to do, but it's going to be tight and it's going to come down to attendance, I think. So,
I think at the same time, if Michael's there, then me and him on a dry track are like the same pace. That's why I was a bit more frustrated that I wasn't there last week, because no one else could really keep up with him, whereas I normally can. And sometimes I beat him, but it depends on obviously the track and the consistency. Because obviously, as me and you both saw today, we were behind each other consistent, that same lap times the whole way around the race.
Pretty much, yeah, until the period where half the field box, yeah, absolutely. So, I think there's definitely quick drivers that have potential if they were there for every race to just out and out win the championship. Michael being one of them, I think, because like I say, on a dry track, very good. Even last week in the Ware, he was a bit unfortunate, I think, to get tangled up in a few bits and pieces, but he was still pretty quick. So it's all up in the air. We're going to see what happens. F2 is a bit of an unknown. There's lots of new drivers in there. Not many sort of repeat drivers that have a record of winning championships over and over and over again. Because obviously it changes game to game as well. What goes on. So we'll see. We're going to go. We're on the first lap here with B29. Let's get some telemetry up, shall we? And see. Well.
So I'm just looking at obviously the tyre compounds the different drivers are on. We've got a split grid here of inters and full wets.
To me, that looks very similar to the conditions we were just driving in, and that to me looks like intermediate conditions. We're going to see here, we're going to see B29 set the sort of par time, if you like. He's just entered sector 3 now. He's currently at 116. The sort of the quickest in F2 was a 145. So if you can get close to that.
No, it was a 144.
144, sorry, 144. Yeah, so 144 is the quickest in F2. If you can get close to that, then he's got a good chance, I think, because I think 144 in the way is still pretty strong, even for an F1 grid, I believe. So we're going to see. He's going to come out the last corner here. A little bit slow out of there, it looks. As he dives into the final left-hander. Got to get this one right. He can get penalised for track limits. He kept it within the white lines. Last little dumper battery to the line. And he sets a 153.6.
150.
And a 150 set by Kestrel straight after. So a whole 3 seconds faster. We're then going to see another car follow through afterwards, but there was no, that was a starting of a lap. We're going to hop on board here with BNT Willow, who just started his lap. Now, those times suggest that the track may be actually just slightly wetter than what it was for F2. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, but obviously, when you go onto a wet track that hasn't been driven, it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot less rubber on it, and also as you saw in the F2 races, the more you drive it, the grippier the more water is dispersed, and the grippier the track surface gets.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
So obviously it will ramp up, but obviously at the moment it is. I think it is a little bit wetter. Yes.
yeah, I think you're right there. I think we're still waiting for that dry line to appear, which will take a few laps to clear while these cars are out on intermediate and wet tyres. You know, maybe that's why some of the cars are on wets to clear some of that water off the track, so they can then go set faster laps. But Kevin Cowles just won a 156. It didn't take long in F2 actually for the track to dry out. So, and also the other thing I want to ask you was as well, what do you think is the best way to do a wet qualifying? As Phantom Fox goes on a 151 with wet tyres. Something to note there, he's split the intermediate runners. What do you prefer doing on a wet qualifying? Do you prefer fueling the car up or just going lap after lap after lap after lap? Or do you think low fuel and then sort of an out lap and then come in and a new fresh set of inters? What's your preference?
Okay. So this is normally how I run every single one of my qualifyings. So what I'll do is I'll fuel the car up for roughly 5 laps. And what that gives me is the out lap, a push lap, what I call a cool down lap, so I'm getting my battery back, another push lap, and then my in lap. So it's about 4 laps roughly, and then every other lap is a cool down lap, so I'm getting my battery back, and then I go for another push lap. That's basically how I run all my qualifyings.
Right. Okay. See, I'm a bit different to that. I think on a dry qualifying, what I'll do is I'll go out. I may do sort of the 2 lap thing, like you just said, like where you fuel the car up for sort of 5 laps. I'll do that, set sort of 2 benchmark times, and then what I'll do is I'll come in and fuel the car for 3 laps, so an out lap, push lap, and then an in lap kind of thing. And that usually gets me my quickest time. Whereas with a wet qualifying, what I did for the F2 qualifying just now was just literally stayed out for the whole session, fueled the car up for 10 laps, and just went lap after lap after lap on intermediates, and I was gaining time because these intermediates don't really wear in the wet too much. Not unless you're doing in race circumstances. Kevin Cowles does a 149.8 and goes fastest here at Shanghai, and then beaten instantly by VNT Willow. Maybe this track is starting to dry out now. That's a 149.6 set by Willow there. As we're going to go on a lap here with Tocci, who's just coming around.
Whoa, hang on a minute. CJ has been a baller and he's gone on softs. He's in the pit still, but it says he's on softs.
Unless he's ticked the soft option and just not come out yet. That could be what that is. As we're going to jump on all the low wires here. It's dipping into the pits. Set a lap. Yeah, I think some of those wet tyre runners are just deciding to jump into the pits and swap out for some intermediates. Well, we've got 3 minutes left here in the session. Mindmaster on his lap here, just coming around sector 2 as Ahmed D goes fastest again now. 148.4 for him, a whole 1.2 seconds clear of second place at the moment. So this qualifying session heating up, this track drying out, and we're going to see some better results, I feel, as we come to the latter stages of it. As Mindmaster here, round sector 2. Hasn't set a lap yet, Mindmaster, so nothing to compare it against. Sector 2 time is going to be 101.7. Not sure where that compares to the rest of the grid so far, but he's going to come into sector 3 now. The most difficult corner on this track, I think, is that sort of corner that leads onto that back straight, because you sort of have, especially in the wet, you have to deliver the power slowly and then sort of hammer it at the last minute to get the power on the exits. We've got a caution in sector 3 here. I think it's just due to a slow car who's maybe on a cool down lap. Still on board with Mindmaster here. He comes into the final corner. He's on at 133 at the moment. Come around the final corner. Is he pulled out of that lap? No, he's still going. 147 now set. Another pretty much whole second clear of the most recent time as Mindmaster now. Will he benefit from the drying out track? He sets a 148.3, so 0.8 off of first place there. Still some cars, pretty much half the grid, who haven't set times yet. Willow goes fast again with a 147.5. No, that's the same time, sorry.
Hang on a minute. No. the Alpines are out on softs.
So we've got soft tyre runners in a wet session here. Both CJ and Dan Newtonian out on soft tyres as the intermediate runners are setting a 1:45.9 as the fastest time. Well, the quickest time in F2, like we said, was a 1:44, and those conditions were nowhere near soft running conditions. Yeah, and if you look, let's just take a look at these Alpines here very quickly. They look to be struggling for grip massively. Just hop on board with CJ very quickly. That does not look like how that corner is supposed to be taken flat out. That looks like it's difficult conditions. Will it dry out in time? Maybe that's what they're gambling on, is it? Just drying out in time. Can't quite remember what the forecast is there.
Gambling on.
F1 sprint quali, yeah, so the weather gives it wet to dry in sprint quali, but will we see enough dryness before the end of this qualifying session as we hop on board with some cars who climb through and set their laps? Kevin Cowell, 146.2 for him, but he goes second place at the moment, tips wide, that's it. Willow on a 147.5, Karem on a 148.2. Very quick last week, the Turks, and unfortunately, not looking to be setting the same pace here. But he's still on wet tyres, Karem. I'm interested to see how these Alpines are going to get on. I'm going to hop on board with CJ here as he goes on his lap.
No, they're too late. They're too late. They're taking the flag. They're too late.
They're taking the flag. They're too late. Oh
Yep.
my word. So the Alpines don't even get a lap in. Let's hop on board with some of the... Let's hop on board with Bora Alkan here. Coming through Sector 2. One of the quickest drivers so far this season. Kevin Cowell's retired from the session now. Quickest time so far, 1:44.4. Bora Alkan with his first lap of the session. It's going to be his only lap. As he comes around that long right-hander coming onto the back straight, the place where you've got to get a lot of speed down early to not ruin your run onto the straight. Can be, of course, aided by ERS, but he's going to come down to, to the final hairpin here. Just take that outside curbing. Nice and narrow into the curb on the inside. Just skim it and then get your traction out wide. Cut back over to this right-hand side. Clip the curb on the way in. Touch the curb on the apex. Keep it within the white line on the exit. What can he do here? He's dumped a lot of the battery towards the line. And he sets a 1:45.7. Goes P3. As we'll hop on board here with Willu. He does a 1:45.4. So a whole second off of first place. Another McLaren going over here with Karem. What does he set? It's a 1:48.2. He stays where he is. More times we say Epic the Animal going on a 1:44.8. And that is it. That is the session. So we've seen a real mix of strategy there. Wet tyre runners, intermediate tyre runners, and soft tyre runners as well. This qualifying always seems to chuck up some surprises. So just a rundown for your sprint qualifying order. It's Imedy in first, Epic the Animal starting second on the grid on that front row. Mint is third, Phantom Fox fourth, BNT Willow, B29, Bora Alkan, AFCB Arthur, Kevin Cal, Karem, Mindmaster, Tochi, Dan Lutonian, Kizzy, and also O-Wise and then CJH rounds off on the grid. Those last four cars not setting a timeline. So how do you think they'll fare in the race? Because obviously haven't set a time, but they could be hiding some pace at the back of the grid there.
It could be. Obviously, depends on all the tyre conditions, and obviously depends if obviously the qualifying would have been a part of the driver's practice. So if it's going to be dry, then the drivers won't know where the grip is in the dry, whereas compared to the wet. So it could be very different, but I'm sure we will see.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. I think it's unlucky for them Alpines really, because the forecast did say wet to dry, and it just didn't dry out enough. There was no sign of any sunshine burning through or anything. It stayed wet for the whole session. It looks to me like the best tyre in that session was the intermediate, pretty much all the way through really. But we're gonna we're going to be underway in the sprint race in just a few moments' time. It's definitely going to be an interesting one. Let's just have a look here. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Lights are on. They're out. And away we go here at China, at the Shanghai circuit. And it's Imadi that will lead into the first corner with Epic the Animal and Minkesh closing, following behind, going side by side into the long right-hander. Minkesh on the outside, which is where you don't want to be. And then Epic the Animal takes it inside and slots in behind Imadi. Very tidy start for the cars at the front of the grid. Let's just check back. There's always a McLaren going a bit loosey-goosey there. It's the Carem McLaren that's gone slightly wide, but doesn't keep it on track. The McLarens are now side by side. It's actually been a nice, clean and tidy start here at the Shanghai circuit. We're back on board with our leader Imadi, who's already got a 6th, 10th, 7th, 10th lead over Epic the Animal, who's chasing him closely followed by Minkesh, who seems to be being held up a little bit by the Ferrari at the moment. B29 sitting in a nice, comfortable 5th place on the grid at the moment as well. All those cars seem to be nice together. The car that went wide at the back. If you see anything lying, then do shout me, I'll be straight on it, but it's all seems pretty tight at the moment. Lots of cars closely following each other. We'll hop on board here with VNT Willow, who I think is going side by side with Phantom Fox down the main back straight here. He's going to have the inside line going into the corner. Can he get the move to stick? He's on the inside. And he makes it stick, or will Phantom Fox get the cut back here? He does not. The move has been stuck by the Mercedes, and he'll take 5th place going in to the 2nd lap. Imadi sets the fastest lap on that opening lap. B29 moved up to 4th as well somewhere in those proceedings. So a nice, clean and tidy start from the F1 drivers here. No sort of bumping or banging going on by the looks of it. Imadi over a second now, and out to DRS already. He looks like he's going to have a nice, comfortable win. It carries on like this. Lime, your thoughts so far?
It seems so close. I don't know where to look, really. Everyone's so close. Everyone's within a second of each other.
Yeah, action happening everywhere at the moment. But let's just hop on board with these McLarens. The two teammates seem to be very close to each other. Two of the Turkish that were so close to dominance last weekend, unfortunately, are sitting, right towards the back of the grid here. 10th and 11th they sit at the moment. Obviously still in the points because we count down to 15th for the points in TFR. But not where they'd want to be, considering where they were last week, as one of them makes a move. It's Carem down the inside. Oh, what a crash! A crash between the Kick Sauber and the McLaren of Carem there. The Sauber looks to have come off a little better, but Carem rejoins the circuit back in last place. Bora Alkan in the meantime made up a place. He's caught in that Aston Martin down the main straight now, who's got DRS against the Aston Martin, who doesn't. Can he get the move to stick? Oh, cuts in front of him just before the break is over. Gets the move done. Slides it round the hairpin. He's starting to heat up now here in China. Let's hop towards the front of the grid again as Minkesh goes fastest on this lap. Those cars at the front. A little bit of lag there, but very closely following in that first corner as the Ferrari of Epic Animal goes very close to the rear spoiler of Imadi. Trying to get nice and close. Imadi as that DRS gap is closed right up as debris flying there. Anything you've spotted so far, Line?
There's a yellow flag down the main straight for Carem, but now he's moving again. He's got no front wing.
No front wing. The one of the Turkish that was so dominant last week without a front wing and sitting last place here, 7 seconds off the next car ahead, which is the Sauber. I think that was the Sauber that he got caught up with, I believe. Let's just carry on here and look what else is going on. Epic the Animal, 2/10 off of Minkesh here. It's going to be very tight going down that back straight. Imadi under real threat here with no DRS on just the 3rd lap of being overtaken. Minkesh closely following him. Epic the Animal as well, who was let down in Bahrain, if you remember, by strategy in the end. He looks like he might be towards the top of the order here today. So here we are, down the back straight then. Imadi leading the way, the DRS flaps pop open, Minkesh closely following. It goes to the inside of Imadi and gets the move down, keeps him nice and wide, takes the apex on the corner. Imadi there, a little bit of a loss of traction, goes ghosted. Epic Animal, though, stays third, and Imad stays second. Mint Kestrel is our new race leader. The first time the leader has been overtaken in the race today. As Imad will get DRS down the main straight here again. Won't get the move done, though. What a race it's been so far. Let's hop on board with Borat Alcan. It's just 2/10 off of the Ferrari going into the first corner. Not quite close enough to make an inside move there. Going around the complex into the left-hander, back onto that short little straight that will drop into that tight right-hander. Follow it all the way down here. Aaron with double click the LS will take the dive down the inside. No, he holds position. He's going to wait for the opportune moment there for Alcan. Meanwhile, we'll drop on board with Phantom Fox, who's just ahead of him. To see how he'll defend this as well. The closest battle on the grid at the moment, but we'll just quickly take a couple ball with those Wise here, who's close to the Alpine in front of CJ, who's looking to be in a bit more of a comfortable position to where he's been in the last few weeks. Really struggled at the start of this season, but in a bit more of a healthy position there. Obviously low points, but still some points. It's better than being right on the back of the grid, much like Carrera. Let's just see if he's still got no front wing. No, he's got a front wing now. He's boxed. He's got a lot of ground to make up, though. 41 seconds off of 15th place. Lime, I'm just going to let you take over for a minute and just let us know of anything you have spotted.
You want me to take over for it? I can try. So Imad then opening his letterbox with Epic the Animal tucked behind. Is he going to make a move up the inside? No, he's not. He's going to stick behind the Haas. Coming up into the first corner complex, top three still really close together with Will and you closing up the gap behind. Still not much happening and not many gaps forming besides Kizzy behind B29, who has now actually got Borat Alcan behind him.
Yeah, Borat there actually making up quite a few spots. He was down in 10th place at one point. Made it up to 7th and chasing Kizzy, but once he gets past him, he's going to have a bit of work to do to catch back up with B29. But lovely, those cars on the front seem to be holding each other up a little bit, all seem to be battling, fighting it out. But it's a similar story to what we saw in Australia. Those sort of cars up front all towing each other along. As Mint Kestrel still leads the race for Imad, Epic Animal, VNT Blue, and B29.
It's all kind of like what happened with us really in the F2 race. Top 6 were just together until we collided.
Yep. Quite, yeah, it was, we were sort of towing each other along. Obviously no DRS in that race, but we've got a DRS here. A long train for him. Borat Alcan very close to Kizzy. Will he make the move? He's going to be pushed to the outside here. Borat Alcan does take the position before the corner though, and will hop into 6th position there. Nice position made there, but low traction coming out the corner. Comes to his left-hander now. Back on board with the leaders. You see pretty close.
Imad making a move.
Imad making a move and going up the inside. The first corner. Mint Kestrel will hold the position for the moment and then push back out wide. Can he make it stick on the outside? No, he can't. He has to drop back down to 2nd. No more clean air for Mint Kestrel. Can he adjust to those dirty air conditions behind Imad again? Although Epic Animal having a sniff round Mint Kestrel now. No one making any moves down into that left-hander there, but no, right-hander, sorry. But which we saw a bit of in the F2 race, like me.
Yeah, Oracle.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely. I think this is going to be a bit of a slow burner. This one.
Oh wait, hang on a minute. I've just realised something.
What's that?
Look what's in the 5th and look what's in the 6th.
So 5th we have VNT, a Mercedes and a McLaren. Oh, shock! It's just like the F2 race.
Exact same positions as well.
The McLaren was ahead of the Mercedes in F2.
I was talking about before the crash.
So Mint Kestrel there making a move for the lead again and will get on the inside of Imad and take the position again. Nice mature racing from these two out front, not holding each other up too much, and just they seem to be using each other to get the fastest way around the circuit. Epic Animal still waiting for that moment to try and get past It's definitely more difficult in third because you're that little bit further back. You've got DRS, but you can never get quite close enough to the car without DRS to make a move. So he'll have to stick for third place at the moment. Minkestrel drops back down to second after the main straight. These two swapping positions at the moment. Imadi and Minkestrel drop that right down to B29. He's just dropped outside of the DRS of Epic, and it seems to be out on his own there because Borat Alcan not with DRS behind him. But I'm sure will be hunting him down. He's up to 5th place now. I'm not quite sure what happened to the Mercedes of VNT. He was
I
running
think he's disconnected.
Yeah, he's disconnected from the looks of it. Ghosted and being overtaken rapidly by cars around him. So that is unfortunate. But, we race on here in the Formula 1 tier race and TFR. 7 laps gone, 3 to go. And Imadi is your sprint race leader. We've got a caution in sector 2.
I'm not sure for what.
That I wonder. Any update? No, it seems to have disappeared.
I have no idea, but here goes Minkestrel.
Minkestrel again will retake the lead, coming into the corner, and will keep it into the hairpin as well. The bit you got to watch is back at the main straight because the driver behind will get a dose of DRS and may be able to retake the inside, but looks to be just a little bit too far back there, Imadi, to be able to make a move. Yeah, he will be. Minkestrel will hold the lead into turn 1. I see VNT Willow has joined back, but unfortunately he's got all the way from 5th all the way down to 12th, so he's got a bit of work to do if he wants to get to the looks undoable with the amount of laps we've got left in this race. So far, Minkestrel looks like he will be taking the win in this sprint race in the F1 tier of TFR, where Imadi closely following behind again. It's going to keep swapping, I think, right into that final lap. Epic just biding his time behind both of them, but the dirty air of the 2 cars in front may be hindering his tyre wear. Following those 2 in front closely, you can't get close enough,
I think it's just. I think what Epic's doing is actually just hoping that these two maybe come together at some point, and then he can just swipe in there and just take the lead, which is what I'd do. I would play it safe and just hold back unless he knows that he does have the drive for a corner to send it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult game to play though, because these two have kept it exceptionally clean in the lap so far. As Imadi makes another move for the lead as we go on, we're about to head on to the 9th lap, but Minkestrel's going to try and stick it around the outside. Will he get the traction? No, it's Imadi who takes the lead, but he's very close. Minkestrel coming into the main straight, and it looks like he's going to potentially retake the lead coming into turn 1 maybe. No, just a little bit too far behind. Must have not got the traction coming out of the final corner there. Imadi will keep his lead coming into lap 10 as Epic the Animal will stick out the inside of Minkestrel. Will he make it stick? Minkestrel keeping the position at the moment, and does. He got the inside of the second corner and will keep it in front, but Epic the Animal realising he's going to have to start making moves if he wants to finish a little bit higher in this race. Not quite close enough to make a cheeky little move up the inside there. P29 comfortable at the moment in P4, but Borat Alcan has reduced that gap by about a second, I believe, from where he was at 2 laps ago. Karem at the back there, 4 laps on soft tyres. I think he's just hoping out for the fastest lap points potentially in this race. As Imadi leads the way as we're about to come onto the final lap. This main trick to deal with first, and Minkestrel will get a dose of DRS, but he's 8/10 off the leader. That's the biggest we've seen the gap so far in the race. Has Imadi played this perfectly? Will Epic the Animal come into his own here and still P2 off of Minkestrel? We'll see as we head onto the final lap of the Grand Prix here. Imadi's kept his lead down the straight that time. Bit of a lock up into the right-handed hairpin as we go around the final corner here and on to the last lap of the sprint race. With Imadi leading the way, Minkestrel following behind, and Epic the Animal following closely in third. Imadi still out in front by 5/10. Epic the Animal and Mint Kestrel separated by just 2/10. B29 in fourth there. He looks to be out of the fight for a podium at this moment in time. But all three cars at the front following each other exceptionally closely. A nice and tight race. You get the sense that Epic is just waiting for a Mint Kestrel mistake. Will he make a cheeky little dive here? No, he's going to bide his time again behind the Haas. I think who locked up and has got low traction out of the corner there. Unable to get close to Imadi. And the Ferrari now will sit behind the Haas. And try and get nice and close to him just before the main straight. What Epic the Animal could ideally do with here, line, is Mint just dropping outside of the DRS zone as they come onto the final straight, which doesn't look like it will happen. I believe the detection zone is around.
Obviously, at the same time, you got to realise that in this game as well,
So
the ERS. You got to realise that the ERS is so powerful, because if Mint Kestrel was to have lower downforce on his car and he was just to save and burn down that straight, and he could hold off Epic the Animal with DRS.
Well, it looks like here that the Haas hasn't got DRS. The Ferrari does. There's a bit of a squeeze. There's a lock-up from the Haas. It was desperate defending from the Haas, but he's gone wide in the final corner. Epic the Animal will go around the outside. The Haas has lost the position. Epic will steal second, but Imadi here is going to take the win for the sprint race in the Formula 1 tier. Epic the Animal comes in second, and Mint Kestrel will round off the podium positions. B29 will come in fourth, followed by Bora Alcan in fifth. Kizzy will round off in sixth, and Phantom Fox seventh. My Master 8th, Kevin Cal 9th, Willu 10th, Dan Lutonian 11th, O-Wise will be 12th, CJH 13th. As he comes down the front straight, and there's a bit of a gap here as the two Saubers are dawdling away at the back line. What did you make of that? That was some race towards the end.
I actually don't think that Epic stole that off Mint. It genuinely like to me that Kestrel didn't know that Epic was on his inside. He gave him a squeeze, they made contact, and on the exit of the hairpin, Mint Kestrel pulled over to the left hand side and gave Epic the place. Because if you looked, Mint was quite far behind Epic. Looked like he let him go quite significantly.
Yeah, it's a difficult one.
He was 1.1
seconds
behind.
From Mint though, because he locked up from my screen at least. He locked up going into that hairpin. He looked as if he was, you know, he wanted to make sure he kept that position. Obviously made contact. Whether he then gave the spot because of the contact under the braking, who knows? We'll have to ask him after the race. But the winner here is Imadi. A flawless race from him. Yes, he lost the lead throughout periods of that race, but in the end, the strategy for him worked. Just using, swapping constantly with Mint, it worked out well for him. So yeah, let's just have a quick rundown of the results. Imadi first, Epic the Animal in second, Mint Kestrel third, B29 fourth, Bora Alcan fifth, Kizzy sixth, Phantom Fox seventh, My Master 8th, Kevin Cal 9th, Willu 10th, Dan Lutoni 11th, O-Wise 12th, CJ 13th, Tochi 14th, Arthur 15th, and then Karem down in 16th. And an unlucky race for the McLaren, who got caught up early on in the sprint race and unfortunately never really recovered from it despite going onto the soft compounder tyre. We're going to go into the short qualifying here for the feature race for the Formula 1 tier. After that session line, what are your predictions for the main race?
Close, mate. I'm going to call it a close main race as well, because the top three were very, very close. But also I'd like to see what other people do in dry qualifying conditions compared to wet conditions.
Sure. Yeah.
Because obviously having a wet qualifying is vastly different, and obviously even someone who's I'm gonna sound cocky, but even someone who's quite fast like me in dry conditions is awfully slow.
In the wet, yeah.
Slow in the wet conditions, because a lot of us practice in dry conditions. Yeah. Not because obviously we used to have a wet time trial. We don't have that anymore, so we can't exactly go out and simulate.
Tip for you:
perfect
just load
conditions.
up a single player
Yeah,
pre
I've
and
learned that
stage
now.
conditions. Yeah, yeah, that's what I usually do. Just do an hour-long practice session. Just go lap after lap after lap after lap. The first car out here, I think, is going to be a Red Bull or Lima D. Yes, it will be. If you hop on board with Lima D, Lime, I'll let you talk us
Mm.
through the lap once it starts. Obviously, on his lap at
Okay.
the moment.
Yeah, I'm seeing it's like that.
So. Yeah, let's see what happens in dry qualifying. Obviously, wet qualifying can obviously lead us to some jumbled up grids. But dry usually puts everyone where they should be, despite any perhaps if there's not any sort of issues. So qualifying is dry, and the main race is also dry for the well, dry to wet actually the main race. So we'll see. It's gonna, whatever happens here in qualifying, it's gonna all get mixed up again in that main race. What do you think, Ryan?
That's a good thing. Do you want to know a funny story about me?
Yeah, go for it.
So I work at a karting track, so I'm a track marshal at a karting track, and Sunday it had like 3 torrential downpours, and with lightning and whatever, and the last one finished our last session of the day 5 minutes early because it was so bad. And I got in a car that had a puncture. I need to take it down to one of our workshops. So I take it down, and I forget that there's a massive puddle at the apex of this corner. Now, bearing in mind my helmet was open, I went through this puddle and it went straight into my face and all of the left-hand side of me. So I was drenched.
Beautiful. Right, well, I'm a D
Very.
here. Going to start his first lap of the session. Take it away, Lime.
Okay, so I'm in his Red Bull, powering down, sticking to the left-hand side. I haven't seen that one before. Normally it's the right-hand side. Anyway, powering up into the first corner complex, which is more of a spiral than a turn, really. Keeping it nice and tidy through the first corner complex, getting on the power. Looks to be good and clean at the moment. Doesn't look to be pushing too hard, though. Coming into what I call the first hairpin. Nice and tidy coming through there. Gets on the power, a little bit squirrely coming on the exit there. Coming through to the quick left-hander. His right tyres will be complaining on that exit there as they quickly switch to the right and then back into the slower left-hand side again. To the double left-hander. I forgot it's a double left. Now onto the smaller straight in sector 2. He's got purple double sector into the slowest part of the track and the most sketchiest, squeezing the throttle as he gets onto the power, down to the back straight into sector 3, coming up to the DRS line then. DRS opens wide on the Red Bull, as this is probably the most relaxing part on the track, a nice long straight before you get to the really heavy braking zone into the hairpin. Doesn't, maybe has a little lock up to that corner, powers its way down into the final corner. Clips the apex on the inside, doesn't run wide. What's it gonna be? A 1:32.7. It's not too bad, but I don't know really the dry qualifying times around here because we did it in the wet. So, do you know dry qualifying times?
I don't particularly know dry qualifying times. It looks to be a good one from memory. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. That does look to be a very good time though. I think in race trim I was doing around a 1:37, so that does seem about right for a strong qualifying time.
So we'll see as... Hang on a minute. We've got someone new in here. I don't remember that other Red Bull being in here.
Yeah, Detective Midge has joined us for the
I,
main race. Is he a reserve driver, perhaps?
Possibly, I haven't
believe
seen
he is.
him
I
before.
don't think he's the main Red Bull driver. Something I've just noticed, I don't know whether he's actually out. I think Kestrel's sitting on intermediate tyres.
Oh, where's... Oh! No, he's still in the pits.
He's still in the pits. And also, another thing to note as well, CJ setting his lap on medium tyres. It has put him slowest of everyone who's set a time. But is that perhaps... He's only 6/10 off of the time in fourth. So, it's not a massive gap. It's a gap, but it's not a massive gap. Do you reckon that's just a warm-up lap to sort of get a feel for how the track is?
Possibly, might be, or what he might be doing is helping the track get to its temperature and get rubber on it, and then once it obviously starts becoming more running, switch to the softs, and then have a better chance of getting a good qualifying running.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. And we're going to hop on board my master now. He's on sector 1. You get to set a time in this session. We've got a caution in sector 2. Probably just a car slowing down for one of the faster runners coming through. It's going to be... let's just have a look here. I always forget where sector 1 is. It's going to be a 1... No, I still can't figure out where sector... Oh, we have sector 1 has ended. I've missed what the sector 1 time was, unfortunately. We're in sector 2 now. Sorry, it's just a rookie commentary error there. Sector 2 now. He's going to set a 24.5 in sector 2, 52.7 overall. As we come to the final sector, looks to be a pacey lap. He looks like he's got a lot of grip out there, a lot of confidence, especially coming out of that final corner before the main straight. Will he get a tail off somebody in front of him as well? That's another thing. This straight is so long. It's sometimes handy to have a bit of slipstream coming down the straight. Obviously, not to get the dirty air into the final corner, get held up under the car. But if you can sort of catch your slipstream off of one of these slower cars.
Oh.
What have you spotted there, Line?
So I was just watching Candy Tone, where she's just about a couple of seconds out the road on Mindmaster, but coming out of the final corner then, it just looked like his car snapped and he had to go off the track, which invalidated his lap.
That's unlucky for him. Imd goes fastest again then with 132.36, so just marginally faster than his first time there. I think it was a 132.7 the first time, if I remember correctly. So far only 6 runners to set times. And let's have a look. Caution sector 1 and 2. What is going on out there? Just slow cars at the moment. Caution sector 2 again. Probably just another slow car. Let's hop on board with Boy Alcan. He's on his out lap at the moment. We'll hop on board with V29, who's on a...
I was about to say that.
On a lap in anger.
What's your opinions on this year's Aston Martin? Because I've been selected into one for another league I'm in. How do you think of it?
I mean, in terms of its real life pace or the...
How it looks,
how
really.
it looks. There's been other liveries of theirs that I think have been better, certainly. Not the one with the pink stripes on it, but I think even maybe last year's cars, when there's just a bit more green on it. For me, for an Aston Martin, there's a bit too much exposed carbon on there. I guess that's probably weight saving. But like, I think they could do sort of far better. I'm interested to see how much their livery is going to change when they obviously swap to Honda power units, because they're going to have a bit of white and red on there, I suppose, for Honda, I imagine. So yeah, I mean it's okay though as far as F1 liveries go. It's a decent one, but with Aston Martin it's very much rinse and repeat every year. I feel it's always not too distant.
Well, it's the same with some teams, and they're more like rinse. They just repeat the liveries, don't they? Like McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, or repeat the same. And Red Bull. Red Bull gets boring after a while.
Yeah, I mean Red Bull definitely. I think McLaren, if you look at how it's developed over the last sort of 4 years or so. You know, there used to be a lot more blue on their cars. Now they've sort of gone to this whole orange and black colour scheme. Obviously with a hint of blue on the wing mirrors there. As Mink Kestrel goes faster than 32.4 with, it's pretty much 132.5 with 8 minutes remaining. But yeah, there's the liveries on these cars. Like the McLaren one this year, I'd say that's a good looking livery. The only thing I didn't quite like is the chrome one that they did for Silverstone. I still think that they should... With the, you know, like the old Vodafone one where it had that bit of splash of red down the side with the Vodafone logo.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
They need to keep the orange side pod with the chrome logo on it, and then like just make the rest of it chrome. Because the nose of the car, I believe, was chrome as well. And I think on the Vodafone ones, the nose of the car was orange, and I think on the Vodafone ones, the nose of the car was chrome. Obviously, they don't want to make it a carbon copy, I guess, but yeah, I felt like if I was the livery designer, I could have made it look slightly better, but. Somebody's important to do that, so yeah, that's that. But who should we... We're on board with Bora Alcan. He's on a lap in anger at the moment. He's on sector 3, just about to come around the final corner. One of the quicker drivers so far this season. Where will he slot in with his first time? He goes second, and not far at all off of Mint Kestrel up in P1 there.
Okay.
Literally 2/100ths of a second behind Bora Alcan.
Keep your eyes on Karem. He's just set fastest sector 1 and sector 2.
So Karem fastest sector 1 and sector 2, you sail on. We're following him through sector 3. Will he knock his teammate Bora Alcan out of P2? Will he knock Mint Kestrel off the top spot? We'll see. Coming down that final straight now. Through the final hairpin, coming into the final left-hander. Take lots of curb on the entry, clip the apex, don't go too wide on the exit. Nicely tucked between the lines there. What will he do across the line? It's only enough for third. 132.6. Not much separating those top 5 cars, really, though. Just 3/10 pretty much between those top 5. Very tight so far. Very tight indeed. Anybody else we go on the board with? Let's hop on board with Detective here, who's 2/10 down on his last sector 2 time, and sits currently 7th on the grid. So McLaren going slowly around the final corner, but I believe he's probably, yeah, he's going into the box there. So Detective Midge has gone sector 2 fastest, purple sector 2. Will come out onto this main back straight here. Takes the line a little bit shallow, not using the whole of the track, so might have compromised his run, but we'll see. They're coming down to the final corner. Let's just get the telemetry here. Let's see how much battery we've got left. 9% battery left in the tank. Build a bit of it back up coming into the hairpin. Not using any coming up to this left-hander. The DRS flap will open. He's kept it nice and tidy around that final corner. What will he get? A 133 dead, pretty much. So still remains in 7th place as we are just under.
Not behind Kevin Cow there either.
Yeah, just Kevin Cow is literally just in front of him.
That's also just made me notice something as well, actually. So between 5 and 6 is 8/10 per second. Between 6, 7, there's obviously a couple thousandths. Between 7 and 8 is another 4/10. So there's almost 2 splits here. Yeah, between the grid.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a few levels of pace out there. I noticed there's a few cars that have done laps, more laps on the same set of tyres. Look at Phantom Fox there. He's on a 3 laps of softs. Obviously in the box.
Look at Kevin Cow, because he's coming through now as well, so he might improve.
Yeah, Kevin Cow come around the final corner here, dumping a bit of battery, opens that DRS flap. What will he get? A 132.8, which takes him to, well, I think he remains 6th there, doesn't he? I believe.
No, he went up. He was 7th.
He was 7th, so
yeah,
he's gone up by a spot. But I just feel with these sort of ones that are set in the high 32s, there probably is a bit more pace in the tank if it wasn't for some mistakes around the lap. I mean, China is one of them tracks where if you get untangled in one part of the sector, it sort of messes up your whole sector the majority of the time. So, yeah, an interesting one. Interesting session so far. Got 3 minutes left. Just try and see who else is out on track at the moment. Going to be setting a lap. Kizzy there is not on a lap at the moment. Willow is, I believe, on a lap or not. I think he's box there. Yeah, he is. My master taking a little detour across the grass. Let's hop on board with Mint Kestrel. I think he's out on an out lap. I want to make sure we're there. Yeah, he's onto his final lap, on his final run now, I believe. So we'll follow him around this lap. It's into the right-hander. Lots of nice speed carried through there. So you get a nice bit of curb on the first bit, avoid the curb on the second, but then kick the pedal hard to the floor as you exit out of the corner. Keep the traction though. Use a bit of battery to aid yourself down this straight. He's up by 0.2 of a second at the moment. I think it's probably because he had to avoid one of the Saubers early on in the lap, but will he gain some time back here? Comes around that left-hander. Sometimes a drop to fifth will help you with traction, but he stays in sixth there. Drops to fourth, then down to second, into the left-hander. It's a double left-hander here. Again, one of the ones where you've got to keep traction nicely because it's a low traction area of the circuit. Up that little short straight, down into left-hander, which is immediately into the long right-hander prior to the main back straight. What's he going to do on this lap? The second half of the lap has looked a lot stronger than what the first did. DRS down the back straight. The fastest man in the session so far. Can he beat his time and extend his lead at the top of the timing board? What will it be? Doesn't look like he's going to beat that time. He's on a 1:30
No,
already.
he's not.
No, he's on a 1:30. He's already passed his time. He's not going to improve. It's a 1:38. And I can't really see where he went wrong in that lap. Is he going to go on another lap here almost straight away, I wonder?
Oh, I wonder if he did bail out then.
Yeah, potentially. I think he did. He's going to go on another lap here with slightly less battery. We'll follow him again here, and we'll monitor the rest of the times as they come in. Let's see what he sets for sector 1. He's only 19 thousandths of a second slower
he's a
that
push
time,
lap.
so he's on a push lap. He looks a lot quicker. I think as soon as he realised he was 0.2 down on that first one, he sort of bailed out and sort of went for the next one. So let's have a look here. Let's see what he sets for sector 2. He's looking a lot more confident and quicker through these corners at the moment. Hard down the accelerator, down that little mini straight into the left-hander. He's 2/10 up on his time, almost 3/10 as well. What can he do around this long right hand? This is where he can either gain or lose a lot of time. Looks very quick, looks very planted around there, Mink Kestrel. Down the main straight now. The flap will open at the back of the car. The DRS flap is now open. He's going to dump some battery. There's not much of it left though down that back straight. That could cost him. As we come into the final right-hander, it's nice and tidy, clips the apex, accelerates straight off the exit. We'll move over to the right-hand side of the track here. What will he be able to do? It's on a 1:28 at the moment, coming to the final corner, a bit of a slip. What can he do? It's a 1:32.2. He's got beaten his time by 0.2 of a second. And we're going to hop on board with D, who's probably his closest challenger, really.
Whoa, what's happened here?
What are you watching there?
Bora Alcon will not beat Kestrel's time because he has a lot of wing damage.
Yeah, as D goes fastest, there's pretty much a 1:32 dead there from D. Beats Mink Kestrel's time by 0.2 of a second, pulled out of the bag just when it needed to be. Karem will come home 0.3 quicker than his last time, but will be a 1:32.
Okay, but watch out because Epic Animal is coming.
Yeah, let's just drop on board with Epic here. He's coming into the final corner now. What can he do? It's a 1:32.5, and it's only fourth on the grid for Epic. The man who finished second in the sprint.
For one lap, that is not bad.
No, considering there's no warm-up there, he's actually done pretty well, Epic the Animal. So the F2 commentator slotted himself fourth on the grid there. Not too bad at all from Epic for one lap. So the rundown order for the main event here. It's D who will take pole position, then Kestrel alongside him on the front row. Then we've got Karem, Epic, PSR, Bora Alcan, B29, Detective, Kevin Cowell, Kizzy, CJH, VNT Willow, O-Wise, Phantom Fox, Mindmaster, AFCB Arthur, Tochi and Dan Lutonian will round off at the back of the grid, who didn't even set a time in that session. The Alpines, unfortunate in both races, unfortunately. So, but CJH there in 10th, looking to have a bit more of a healthier qualifying than what he had in the sprint qualifying. So, yeah, we'll see what happens in this main feature race. And I've got to get my start to the race, my intro sorted, because I just absolutely butchered it the last time, and in Bahrain I butchered it as well. Just waiting for the main feature race to start here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And the lights are no more, and it's pedal to the metal here in Shanghai again for the main feature F1 race in the TFR F1 division, as Imadi will take his lead into that first right-hander, followed closely by Mint Kestrel and Epic the Animal, similar to this sprint race. Epic the Animal's already moved up one position past Karem Kalabasi. B29 holding on to fifth, although he's got the McLaren of PSR, Bora Alkan down the inside. Will he hold the position for Alkan? No, B29 fends him off for the moment. It looks like he might have the inside line coming down into the little right-hander here, although the McLaren's going to try to stick around the outside, keeps it nice and tight, contact for the RB, and the Red Bull there in the corner. Drop back in with our leaders again, who seem to be keeping it nice and clean again in this race. Up towards the back of the bridge, CJH dropped by one position, following close to the Aston Martin, knocks the Aston Martin of Kevin Cow, and he goes flying wide. The Sauber car's now trying to close down the Alpine, and there's a crash at the back. It's MindMaster and Phantom Fox. MindMaster will get given a 10-second penalty, and I think Phantom Fox will as well.
Yeah, I watched that happen. So it looked like Phantom Fox just got screwed out that corner, spun, and it looked like MindMaster just had nowhere to go. He went left, and as the Ferrari went left as well, he just connected both and went into the wall.
It is difficult in these F1 cars when the wheels get tangled to break away from it. I had a similar situation last week in Australia. First corner, I had a car on the outside, a car on the inside, and I just got pinched by the both of them. There's no, once you're in that situation, there's no way out of it. As Imadi sets the fastest lap on the opening lap here.
I agree, but here, you know, Phantom Fox is about 4 cars ahead of MindMaster, and lost the rear, sort of spun and was almost stopped on the track, and MindMaster just pulled to the left hand side and almost took both of them with him.
Master, unfortunately, you think to get a penalty, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be something that will get reviewed.
But also, before that happened, I was going to bring up MindMaster because he qualified at about 7th or 6th, and he must have got a 10 place grid penalty because he started last.
Yeah, I think I do remember something about the 10 place grid penalty in the chat. I'm not entirely sure on that though, so I'll have to clarify that. He's coming out the pits now to have a wing change. I wonder if Phantom Fox will change his because he's missing an M plate. It's not the end of the world if you are able to drive with that sort of thing, but if you find it a little bit uncomfortable, then sometimes it is better to just go in and change it and get that time back.
Well, you survived with one end plate left, so.
Yeah, I mean, in the rain though, I think it's a bit easier because obviously you're going so slow around the corners that you don't really need the bike from the front wing, really. And I think it actually benefited me down the straight because I was able to go that little bit quicker because of the lesser downforce. So we're going to follow Imadi here, who's being closely followed by Mint Kestrel. 4/10 clear of him at the moment. Karem in third is a whole nearly 3 seconds off of the leader as Mint Kestrel goes fast. He's got a caution in sector 3. He seems to be cleared. I don't know who that was. Maybe Lime, you can update me on that. Epic the Animal though, he was up to second at one point in this race, and now is down to his fourth again, stuck behind that McLaren who appears to be going very slowly. He's in a McLaren sandwich at the moment. It's not probably a good position to be in because both of these McLarens are very quick and they like working together. The Turks all worked together in Australia and came off with a very good result because of it. Let's just drop down to the back of the grid. Let's check in on how CJ's doing. He's up to 9th position. Obviously, he did have that bit of an issue with the Aston Martin, a little bit of chemical a little bit earlier on the race, but he seems to have recovered well. He's sitting in 13th and tucked behind the Williams of O'Wise at the moment. Okay, Ferrari of Epic the Animal looked for a move on Bora Alcan, and you can see what he's trying to do, but yeah. Something that is great in this game is the fake sort of dive when you go to look like you're going to move and then you don't.
I saw you do that to me a few times when you were still behind me, and I was like, I'm not falling for it because I know what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's probably one of the better moves in the game, though. You know, when you're just not going to go for it, you can encourage that car in front to go deep, and then you've got a clean move through them because that car is out of your way. You have to battle them through the corner. So maybe Epic's going to try that here on Karem, as Imadi retakes the lead. As you spotted something.
Yeah, so Tochi, Wise and Arthur went 3 wide into the last hairpin, and both the Saubers made contact and one was ran off the road.
And it looks like it might happen again here. As both Saubers are wheel to wheel in the first corner. The Sauber was wheel to wheel with the Aston Martin. It went well wide and has ended up wheel to wheel with his teammate here on the soft tyre 4 laps in. Has been overtaken by the car on the hard tyre, which reminds me to get the details up of what tyres they're on. So some information here on track times. There we go. A bit more sorted out now. So let's have a look. Both the Saubers following each other closely. Where else is there quite tight gaps? Let's have a look. That seems to be the tightest gaps at the moment. It's those 2 Saubers following each other nicely. Let's check back in with our leaders. That gap between Epic the Animal and... Well, Epic the Animal's up to 3rd. He got that move done on Karem. He's closing in now on Mink Kesh. 3 seconds behind. He needs to try and eat into that lead. It's going to be difficult though without the DRS, I feel.
Yeah, and also it's gonna be hampered by the guys behind. So obviously, if he could break away, then that would help him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, all the time those McLarens are behind, they're going to be trying to nibble at his heels and get into the races. The 2 leaders were battling into the first corner there, pushing each other wide into that first corner. AFC Arthur given a penalty, 3-second time penalty for track limits there. So obviously just overstepping the mark between 20 seconds. It is easy to do that on the track, by the way, as well, especially around that final corner. If you get that inside curve all wrong, especially in the wet, you can go so far wide. I mean, I did it behind you. I was in a bit of dirty air behind you line, I think. Or it might have been in front of you by that point, actually. I just went so wide.
Yes,
in
you
that
were.
final corner.
Yes, you were. I remember now.
So I think I was 1 warning away from getting 3 seconds after doing that race. So.
I only got 1 warning, which is abnormally good for me. As we got a yellow flag for 1, that's Tochi.
Let's have a look here, Tochi in the gravel. Doing a bit of Zen gardening by the looks of it. Now a bit of lawn mowing. Still not back on the track. And he is now, and almost lost traction coming back onto the track. So I wonder what on earth is going on with him. He's on those soft tyres, the only soft tyre runner in this race. And seems to be struggling just 5 laps into the Grand Prix.
So if he's struggling on the soft tyre, that must mean that there is a high... Oh, he's gone off the grass again. That must mean that there is a high level of tyre degradation out there. So I'm wondering now if the hard runners have actually... If the Grand Prix is actually playing into their hands, because the top 2 are in mediums. So there are only 5 medium runners in this race.
Well, the way to tell will be to see if that gap between Epic and Mint Kestrel does close. But like I said, the only downside to this battle is those 2 out in front seem to keep towing each other along with the DRS. They have the same sort of pace around the circuit. They don't battle each other too much, and when they get to the DRS zone, they swap positions. There's no sort of fighting into corners or anything like that. They seem to be racing pretty fairly.
So,
That's towing them
yeah.
away from Epic at this moment in time. But
So I
the
think
big
generally that they're so the guys from I think Karim and Epic need to work together if they want to catch up. But obviously, Tochi's retired in the pits.
Yeah, Tochi's retired in the pits. That is the way to do it without getting a post-race penalty in this league.
So obviously the top two are just working together to break away, so that if the time does come for them to battle, they can.
Yeah.
Obviously, right now, I don't think it's obviously the time to battle with each other.
Absolutely, and it looks like Armadillo just gained a little bit extra time actually on Minkestrel, and what Minkestrel won't want to happen here is to drop outside of the DRS, stay outside the DRS, and let Epic catch up to him. 2.8 seconds now. It's come down by 2.
Yeah, I
seconds.
was just watching that. It had just gone down then. So I wonder if Epic now is actually starting to catch the front two.
We say that it's just going back up to 3.4 seconds. So, but is that down
but that
to,
was just out of
that's after the
DRS.
Yeah, and it
yeah.
could be the McLaren's behind him, attacking him into that hairpin as well. We'll hop on board with Epic as he tries to chase down the leaders of this race. Just 7 laps out to the 28 so far. So just a quarter of the way through this race. There's still lots of races to go. Stops still to come as well. So when do you estimate those medium tyre runners to be boxed in this race then, Line?
I'm gonna around about lap 13 maybe.
Lap 13, yeah.
Depends on
yeah.
It also depends on the degradation of the circuit, and obviously we know that in this game the dirty air obviously affects understeer and oversteer. So if they've got more of that dirty air from a train of cars, obviously that means that they're gonna be a lot more.
So the people you'll be looking at there are CJ and Kevin Cowell, I suppose.
Yeah, CJ, Kevin Cowell.
Yeah, and also Wise as well down in 14th there. But the top two though shouldn't be too greatly affected. They might be able to extend their stint, you think?
They might be able to extend their stint, but obviously it depends. It depends on whether the hard runners then, if they extend their stint too long and the hard runners decide, okay, I'm gonna pit onto my new set of tyres, they could undercut them.
Yeah, I think what's crucial for these hard runners is being able to extend their stint to a point where they, aren't going to lose out on the undercut to the mediums, but also where their mediums aren't going to, when the mediums are going to change onto, aren't going to fade out before the race. So you think lap 13 for mediums, which would leave 15 laps on hards, and so for the hard runners, what, lap 15 for 13 laps on mediums?
Well, yeah, that would make sense, obviously, wouldn't it? Because you're 13 laps on mediums to start with, and then 13 laps on mediums to end with. But obviously, they can change and swap that. Maybe if there's a person behind them they want to get rid of, or in front of them they want to get rid of, they can obviously pit earlier or whatever. But I think around about lap 15 for hards, around lap 13 for mediums.
I mean, I think it is a shame that the rules say you have to box. You can't stay on the same tyre compound for the whole race when you're on the slick tyres, because I believe there's probably some talented drivers on this grid that could probably make a set of hard tyres last the duration of this race. I mean, we saw it with the F2 race, the intermediates. There were some drivers on that grid. I'm not going to say myself because my tyres were actually shot in the bits for the end, but the drivers in front of me managed to make their tyres last pretty much the entire race without stopping. And I feel like you could probably do that on a set of hards here if you were allowed.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, in this game, it obviously depends on the length of the race and degradation of the circuit and the heat and everything that comes into the factor. But this game now, the degradation is quite a lot higher. Most races are actually a two-stopper.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the length of the pit lane as well, really, doesn't it? Because
yeah, and obviously it depends on the length of the track and how much your tyres are worn, or if you're in certain air. But obviously when this game first came out, I started on it. Everyone was telling me, oh, most races are a two-stopper, and the first league race that I did was actually, I pulled off a one-stop from mediums to hards,
yeah, it is doable.
and I got a podium in that. It is doable. Obviously, you've got to just time it
I
right.
think what you've got to take into account as well is if most of the pack boxes on the and does a 2-stop, then they're all going to be fighting each other. Whereas if you stay out on the 1-stop,
Yeah.
you know, you'll be slower towards the end of the race, but the gap might be quite enough because they've all fought each other to remain in
Yeah.
position. So, you know, there is multiple things to think about when it comes to strategy in this game. As we follow Mint Kestrel here, who's still chasing down Imad at the top of the pack. Epic the Animal down
Yeah.
is 2.5 of Mint Kestrel as we come towards the end of the medium stint. 3 or 4 laps left to go on this stint for the lead of our estimations. 2.3 now. He is gaining time through the corners, so it looks as if the hard tyres are starting to come into better health than the mediums at this moment in time, as Mint Kestrel will go and slip into the lead ahead of Imad again. Still working together with the DRS. Well, Imad is going to fight it back. No, he's not. He's going to give him the space. 2 seconds now after the Animal is off of Imad. As the two cars out front. See, Mint Kestrel there giving Imad lots of space. That is proof that they are working together on this and not fighting the whole way round. I think if they had fought the whole way round, their meters would be absolutely shot to bits right now, and they'd be struggling. Don't you like it?
Yeah, I would agree. Obviously, though, if they're fighting, obviously they'd be tearing the surface, their tires to shreds. Obviously, in this game as well, when you're going around on slicks, you can see your tires start to blister and grain, which is a lot more detailed. So you start to know when your tires are dropping.
Yeah, exactly that. So we are expecting the medium tyres to drop off about, well, to be boxing around lap 13. But do you think as well, is that some raindrops I see? We are expecting wet weather in this race as well, towards the end. We didn't see it in Australia. We were due wet weather in Australia.
Yeah, it is raining. It is raining.
It is raining, and this could work perfectly for their medium runners, because the hard runners were just starting to come into a good spot on this, you know, in the race where they were starting to close down on the runners. Epic the Animal looks like he might have just timed this perfectly because he's just about a second behind those slick tyre runners. But if the mediums can extend now and get onto the intermediates.
The thing is now though, who boxes first? Who plays the card first to box sprinters?
Well, this is the thing, because it's, you know, it's not
And
really wet enough for intermediates.
I mean, Kestrel's done it. Kestrel's played the card.
Well, that is very early, I would say, to box for potentially
Yeah.
intermediates. If he is
He's gonna tear those to shreds in the first lap. But it does depend on how hard this rain comes down.
Yeah, I mean, it is due to come down pretty quickly, I think. He is going to go on the intermediate tyre. Oh my word. Well, that is a brave call from Mint Kestrel. Let's just have a look at the track. Yes, still no real wet surface on the track. Is somebody else coming into the box? Yeah, there. OY, no, not OY. Kevin Cowell and Dan Tony also into the pits. The pit lane doesn't look very wet.
Like, it does seem though, like D is struggling into the braking zones. He can't get the traction out of the corners, but also coming down, he's not braking.
I think he
can't brake, he keeps locking.
I think.
Yeah, like he's starting to oversteer and understeer.
Epic the Animal though, staying with him, looks to be a slightly grippier car at the moment. That'll be due to the lesser wear on those hard tyres. Still, you know, still enough rubber on the track to be able to keep the grip.
This is what I was talking about. Depends on how hard the rain comes down. The rain actually has come down quite a lot since Mint Kestrel has boxed. So in theory, if Kestrel can dispatch those two cars in front of him, he could.
There with the Sauber, I've just spotted.
Yeah.
Will he get past?
If he.
No, the Sauber's going to fight him, and he's stuck behind those two slick tyre runners, but will get round the outside of the Sauber in the end. Almost clipped his back end there. We'll get on the inside of the Alpina CJ, who doesn't make it too difficult for him.
That squabble might actually help D keep this Grand Prix in his hands.
Yeah, I'm a D.
As
I'm a D into the box. Epic the Animal closely following. He's just 3 tenths off him now, Epic the Animal. That could be easily gained back.
Karem though. Karem staying out.
Karem staying out. I mean, that rain doesn't look as heavy in some areas of the circuit as it does in others, but we'll see. Who's going to come out ahead in the box? I'm a D comes out ahead.
Here comes Kestrel. Here comes Kestrel.
Kestrel, what can
Kestrel
he
gets
do?
him.
He's got the lead. So that was the right call from Mint Kestrel. We thought it was too early, but he's taken the lead, the net lead of this race. Karem ahead of him, 17 seconds ahead, but he's still got the box for the intermediate tyres. I'm a D, 1.5 seconds off Mint Kestrel. Epic the Animal 1.2 I'm a D. So those two cars that stayed on the slick tyres for that extra lap have ended up paying the price here, and Mint Kestrel is our new net Grand Prix leader. What do you make of that line?
I think that Kestrel did play the idea that was in my head there. Obviously, he thought, how hard is that rain going to come down? Well, I'll be able to get that race lead before D comes out of that pit, and he's got it. So I think that was a brilliant strategy call from Kestrel.
Yeah, and when you consider as well that stuff like DRS is going to be disabled now we're in the wet, it's just been an absolutely amazing call by Mint Kestrel. Full credit to him. Because I think he knew he wasn't going to get past him on the circuit because they just kept swapping positions.
Yeah.
We saw it in the sprint race. They kept swapping positions, and IMD kept coming out on top every single time. Whereas this time, Mint Kestrel boxes, gets the undercut on him, and now has a decent 1.6 second gap with no DRS to help out IMD either. So great little stop for him.
But I think now Karem has done that awfully. I reckon he should have. I know what he's done. He didn't want to do a double stacking because the McLarens were so close. But I reckon he should have taken it because now he'll be lucky to come out 7th, I think. Because he lost so much time in the remaining of that lap.
Karem there.
Through the
Let's see
interrunning.
let's watch him. See, he's only just coming into the box now as Mint Kestrel comes over the start-finish line. So he is going to come down quite far. And this his teammate's going to get him. The Aston Martin, a B29 is going to get him. Kizzy's going to get him.
So that's why I said he's going to be lucky to come out 7th, and he will come out 7th.
Oh, mind you, Detective might just...
No, he's come out 8th. Yeah,
8th
he's come out 8th.
Yeah, let's follow on with our leaders. So IMD has shaved some time off that leader. Mint Kestrel's just 1.2 seconds behind now. Epic staying within a second of IMD though. There does seem to be quite a bit of sliding going on into that right-hander there. The back end, sorry, it's just sneaking out from the rest of the car and around this long left-hander as well. Seems to be sort of a lack of traction at the rear end of the car. Do you think that's because they're running dry setups, perhaps?
Yeah, but obviously, I'll be honest with you, in our race, I was running dry setup, obviously because it's harder to find wet setups these days. All I do if I know it's going to rain like our whole race was rain, I just chuck more wing on it and just get more downforce, especially on the rear, because we all know the rear of the car is what's going to go, because obviously they're rear-wheel drive. So if you have more downforce on the rear, then you're going to get a lot more power out of the rear in these cars anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to stay with our leaders for the moment because I think this is where the main battle is going to be in this race. Although, it seems to be a bit more spaced out amongst the grid now. You think nobody is really within a tenth of a second, apart from Epic there. Within a second, sorry.
Yeah, Karem's under a second of Detective, as obviously D goes into the wet line there to cool his tyres down.
Imagine that Karem would get Detective. He has been one of the faster runners in this race, but just unfortunate with that pit stop to come out so far down the grid. I felt like he gambled that he thought he might be slightly quicker on these slick tyres than he actually ended up being. That rain has come down very quickly. As you can see, lots of spray on the track now. And as we saw in real life, actually, spray is one of the worst things for visibility in F1. Not quite heavy enough for really bad spray in the game yet, but it can get quite bad. It can be impossible to see at points when you're closely following a car behind in the spray. It does get hard. So I'm a D now within a second of Mint Kestrel. Obviously no DRS to use to get past him, but Mint Kestrel still holding out the lead. Epic the Animal staying around the second mark on IMD as well. Will he just be patient and wait for them to fight again, or will he try and close up and get something done a bit quicker? Epic the Animal, we'll see. So Lime, any early predictions for the end of this race then?
I'm not really too sure. I mean, the top 3 are kind of in a league race of their own at the moment. They're 8 seconds ahead of the car behind them, and I think if
Well, I'm a D there,
they
having a look down the outside of the pass of Mink Kestrel. And
if they can all kind of play this cleanly, I don't know who can win really, because they're all quite close.
yeah, that's all. It all depends on if any mistakes are made here, and if those two cars out in front start fighting. Because there's no DRS to swap with now, so they're going to have to fight it out. And I'm a D following very closely to the first corner here. I mean, the best thing for Epic to happen here is if the Haas and the Rebel were to make contact, he would stream straight through and into P1 with no battling to do really, and some clean air might really benefit him because he's been stuck in dirt. Yeah, this.
Obviously, Epic's got rid of those two McLarens now that were behind him, so he's now got 9. They've all got 9 seconds to play with, give or take.
Yeah, they've got room to battle here. I mean, if that gap will come down, but there's, you know, what's that? 13 laps remaining of this race. They,
Yeah.
you know, they've got time to start battling this out now as Epic gets ever closer to Imad. Imad within 6/10 of Mink Kestrel. This is going to be a tight run to the line, I think, as Imad struggling to grip the most out of the three of them, I think, by the looks of it.
So obviously this is what I was saying about the beginning of the race, you know, Epic just waiting behind for an opportunity to strike almost. And I think that's the best way to play it now because he doesn't have DRS, or none of the top 3 have DRS on each other. So you just have to use pure ERS and just pure straight line speed.
Yeah, it really comes down to back to basics racing really. No real aids to help you out apart from your ERS. It comes down to just, you know, a very analog experience of just trying to keep the car on track and be faster than the cars around you, which is what racing is all about really. So Haas here, still in the lead of the Grand Prix, with the Red Bull of Imad following an Epic Animal chasing behind in third, waiting for...
They're close.
Yeah, Imad very close here. Will he take a dive into the first corner? He will take the inside. It's pushed Mink Kestrel a bit wide, and that's not where you want to be in the wet round China. Epic the Animal will close the gap again. See, that is the sort of thing that will bring Epic closer in this battle, is moves in those sort of positions, because, like I say, it's not where you want to be. I was there in the F2 race, pushed out wide on the first half of the race in the wet. There's no grip out there at all in the dry, let alone in the wet. So that's what's going to bring this battle very close, is moves in places where, you know, you wouldn't usually move, and it slows the cars down, you know. So let's see. You know, like I said, some of the cars in the F2 race managed to do a whole race on one set of intermediates. I can't imagine there's going to be any more stops in this race now that all the cars on intermediate tyres, because we're basically on a half and half race. So we'll see. Tochi is the only DNF of the race. AFCB Arthur is the only penalty of this race, but that would so currently put him down to 12th behind CJ. Imad still leading. He won the sprint race. He's leading here in China for the feature race as well. They seem to be going so quick out that final corner. They look to have some real pace. What was the fastest racing lap in the F2 race line? Can you remember?
I think it was a 46.9, I think.
What, fastest racing lap, yeah?
Yeah, and I think, yeah, I was a 10th off that because mine was a 47.0.
Yeah, let's see
Because it was the guys in front of me.
So that's a 148 from Imad on 5-lap old intermediate tyres. So it could be wetter, it could be because the tyres are more worn, because that track's nice and greasy, but so far the faster time in the wet was set by the F2 cars, by the looks of it.
Obviously, those were on brand new tyres from Hyperghost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, about sort of halfway through the race when the track had dried out, whereas this has just got wet. It's coming down pretty heavy. And Imad looks to just have a little bit more pace than Mink Kestrel behind him at the moment. That could be the clean air coming into effect. I feel like we should drop in a bit further down the grid, just check in on some other cars that are quite close to each other. We're going to drop in on our Willow here, who's just 4/10 off of Protective Midge, who's in 8th place. really seems to be happening here. We're going to go back in on our leaders. But the positions haven't changed. They are following each other very closely, and you feel like a move could happen at any point, and I don't want to miss that for the sake of the excitement of this race. It has gone pretty flat since the rain came down, really, apart from the couple of cars staying out. And
It does look like AFCB Arthur will make a move on Kevin Gow, though.
Yeah,
They're quite close.
Drop in on AFCB Arthur, who's going to take the inside, going around that final corner before the long straights. And AFCB
back at the
takes
front.
Inside. And at the front, what have you seen? It's Epic the Animal very close to Mint Kestrel. Will he take the inside line? He does. Will he be able to make it stick? Mint Kestrel going to squeeze it back up the inside, coming into the left-hander. It's very tight. Epic's not quite able to get the traction, or is he? He is. He's going to make it stick coming into this right-hander, but they've dropped quite far behind. Imadi now. Mint Kestrel back down the inside of Epic the Animal. Can he make it stick, Epic? There's contact. They fight each other all the way to the outside, curbing into this left-hander now. This is a place where you don't want to be on the outside. Around the high-speed left-hander, and Epic the Animal makes it stick in the end and gets a bit of a gap on the Haas car. He needs to go now, Epic the Animal. Use that pace that he's been holding behind the two lead cars for this entire race and chase down Imadi, because I believe he's got it. I believe he's got the pace to chase down Imadi. Let's have a look. Let's keep following closely, as that Haas is still close behind.
Flashbacks.
Yeah, absolutely flashbacks. This is going to be tight. Epic the Animal will have to go in the hunt for Imadi here if he wants to win the race. Although he's going to have to fight off Mint Kestrel, who's still pretty close behind him in the grand scheme of things. What end to the race have we got here? 10 laps to go in this Chinese Grand Prix, and it's Imadi who leads the way from Epic the Animal and Mint Kestrel in the podium positions. Epic slower into the hairpin there. Gets the traction out of the corner though, by the looks of it. Still 1.4 for Imadi though, so that gap hasn't closed up quite yet. Line. Anything you want to talk about? What anything you've noticed? To take over for a couple of seconds.
I haven't really noticed much, to be honest. Kestrel's still behind Epic the Animal with 8 tenths a second. Epic doesn't seem to be really closing in on Imadi, really, as he gets a little bit of an awkward line coming out of that corner there. The only person close to possibly a move is Will New, as he actually goes around the outside into the first corner complex.
Yeah, round the outside goes Willu. He's got a Red Bull on the inside still. If he can keep it nice and tight to him, he might be able to nick the inside of the left-hander, but the gap's closed up and he'll stay behind the Red Bull for the moment. Unless he can get a run down into the right-hander. Quite the traction to make it stick there, Willu. But yeah, are we just at a sort of plateau point in this race now? All the intermediate runners on a similar sort of tyre wear. Maybe the pace is slightly dropping away. Are we going to see, who's better with the tyre wear now? Is that still going to start to play a factor, Lime?
Yeah, I don't think anything really interesting is going to happen at the moment, apart from just a battle between Will New and Detective. It doesn't look like Epic will actually close up to Imadi, so it might just be a battle between Mint and Epic now for the race, or the P2.
Yeah, it looks like the race really is for P2 in this race. Imadi is slowly checking out in the lead there, utilising that clean air in the wet. Track, though, doesn't really appear to be drying out. There's not a clear, from the commentary position anyway, doesn't appear to be a clear, dry line. Let's just drop down to Willu here, who's fighting that Red Bull, still pretty close to him. What can he do into this opening corner? He's going to go around the outside of the Red Bull and take the position there, Willu. Very nicely done, the Mercedes of Willu, and will make it stick as well. So finally gets past the Red Bull, and now he's going to go up the road and catch up with Karem, who's still sitting in 7th place here. And he's 1.4 seconds on Kizzy in 6th. Kizzy 4 seconds off the Aston Martin V29, who again, similar to the sprint race, is sat in that position where he's got no one ahead of him, no one behind him. He's just having a race on his own, pretty peaceful out there. Yeah, he's sort of better than everyone behind him, but slower than everyone in front of him.
Must admit now, I've just noticed the two Alpines are similarly close together, around 6/10, 5/10 of a second.
Yeah, what will happen with the teammates here? I wonder. Damage home with a penalty. I think that's just CJ in 12th, and then able to make any real progress in this race. Roundabout where he was by 10 minutes. Roundabout where he was 5. He is closing in on Kevin Cowan by the looks of it, though. Now 1.1 seconds behind him, just dipping into the wet part of the track to cool their tyres back down, which will into the extent of the heat. He's just 90th second now, 1.1 seconds off of 1.3 now of Kevin Cowan, so losing time through that last right-hander before the straight.
Hey, it stopped raining.
The rain has stopped, you reckon?
It's drying up, the track's drying up, the track's drying up.
With 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix, the track is drying up, and who will gamble? Is it
The track is dry, the track is dry, the track is dry.
Who is brave enough for these slick tyres? We're going to keep an eye on the pit lane and see who is brave enough for slick tyres. No one brave enough. Oh,
right, that's two in.
AFC but the Arthur is the first to box. Kevin Cow
and Kevin Cow.
So the Sauber, what would the Sauber go on to? I've got a feeling it'll be medium tyres. Let's have a look here.
Soft.
It's soft tyres. 7 laps to go. Soft tyres is what he's picked. What about Kevin Cow? He's on the medium tyres. He might have the better chance coming into the race. Oh, Wise as well. He's coming and just entering the pit lane now. What will he box onto? Looks to me as if it will be medium tyres. So I think the medium tyre probably will be the better option coming into the race. Those softs on such a high deck track, especially when it's still a bit wet and you'll be sliding around for those first few laps, will be tricky. As you can see,
I don't think it's wet at all.
No, it's not
I don't think it's wet at all.
He is struggling for a bit of grip though, AFCB Arthur.
The rain would have washed the rubber away, but I don't think it's wet at all. Does Imadi come in? No, he doesn't. Does Epic come in?
The leaders
No.
deciding to stay out. Maybe Imadi just a little bit worried that if he was to come in and box over he might not have the pace to catch up with those intermediate runners come the end of the race.
Hey, but does Bora Alkan come in? He's 15 seconds behind.
This would be
if he was to box, he is coming in. He is coming in.
Bora Alkan's coming in. What will he box onto? We're following him to the pit lane now. This race is just lit up with excitement again. He's coming.
B29
slows it down nicely.
Has not come in.
B29 stayed out. He's taken the position of Bora
Kizzy's
Alkan.
coming in.
Net.
Karem's coming in.
Be soft tyres on the McLaren of Bora Alkan. No, medium tyres.
No, it's mediums.
It looks red to me on my screen, but it is medium tyres, says the time
and medium tyres for Karem as well.
Medium tyres for Karem as well. So both McLarens going onto the mediums. There's more slick tyre runners than there is intermediate tyre runners in this session at the moment. So what will happen? I've got a feeling those intermediate runners might have to box this lap, you know. I know there's
yes,
quite a big
I
gap
do agree.
between, like B29 and the front 3. You know, there's a whole pit stop there, but they will get caught overall. I'm going to keep an eye on Bora Alkan's lap time here. I know he's still on an out, but I just want to see what he sets. Although they do look like struggling for grip, the slick tyre runners still in the traction zones. He's had to slow right down for that long left-hander coming into the complex.
Also, it looks like a track is bone dry.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult fate. That track will still be damp. Obviously, like you say, the rubber's been washed away. It will be very greasy as well. You've had rubber going onto a wet surface. It will be slippy. 10-second time penalty for AFCB Arthur. That's his race over, you feel. Although Wise is a whole 24 seconds behind him, so maybe not. At these front runners here. Still not boxed. They're on the 23rd lap now. Still not boxing. Maybe they believe they've got enough grip out there. The Alpine, some of the Alpines as well. Both the Alpines still on intermediate tyres. Although CJH, sitting in 7th, is being caught in close.
Now, hang on. look at the Alpines to the medium runners. They're actually gaining time.
Yeah, it looks like it. I think it might just be them traction.
A lot of
I
time.
think it is sort of a half and half track at the moment. The slick tyres will be quicker along most of it, but then there's in the traction zones, the intermediate tyres still have that upper hand, perhaps. So we're following the situation closely. Just 5 laps remaining in this race now.
I just watched Bora Alkin go from 9 tenths of a second behind CJ to now 2.8.
Yeah. Is there a slight bit of drizzle coming down still? I wonder. Blue flags out. This race is really hotted up. It's worth noting, IMD has clocked out at the front of the Grand Prix now. 3.5 seconds ahead of Epic the Animal. And Epic the Animal is a whole second ahead of Mint Kestrel. What's going to change this race, though? What is going to change this race?
DRS.
DRS opens back up.
Yeah.
Because that will put these intermediate tyre runners at real risk of being overtaken. Especially the 2 Alpines there who are quite close to the medium runners. That will change this race entirely.
At the same time, I was going to say at the same time, Mint Kestrel and Epic the Animal are still within DRS range. Or sorry, I say Mint Kestrel is within DRS range of Epic.
Epic the Animal, yeah. Epic
Just.
Yeah, caution in sector 3. Who's that at the back causing the problems? It's O'Wise who's gone wide in the final corner and crosses the line and crashes back into the wall. He's losing end plate. FCB Arthur with another time penalty there as well. But yeah, I think the thing is, once DRS is enabled in this race, which we may or may not see, I think we might see it. Them intermediate tyres are going to take even more of a beating because they'll have to be braking even harder into the braking zones and taking even more out of their tyres on a dry track. So,
but at the same time, I'm still looking at CJ and Bora Alkin. Bora Alkin's losing so much time. He's now 8.5 behind.
Yeah, maybe this track isn't as dry as what it looks. We'll have to review it after in the chat and see what sort of stuff was being said about the crossover period. I feel like we've got quite a poor view of what it's actually like out there at the moment because it looks, like you say, looks bone dry to us. But is it? You know, these intermediate tyre runners look like they've still got the better grip out of everybody. Did the medium runners, did the slick tyre runners dive in too early? Was it the case of a couple diving in and then the rest of the grid, you know, the other half of the grid followed them as well? I thought it was the right decision. I don't know.
And that's kind of what I did in our race. You know, I saw a bunch of people going in and I thought everyone else is going to follow, so I'm going to go in as well. But in hindsight, I shouldn't have. I should have stayed out.
Yeah, it's a hard call to make sometimes. I mean, I made that mistake in Australia. I boxed way too early for mediums. Thought the rain was going to stop a lot sooner than it was. It didn't, and I ended up dropping positions for it and dropping time away for it. But, you know, that's what happens when you try and make a call and strategy. It can work for you sometimes, it can't work for you on others. And it's, there seems to be that the intermediate tyres have had the better call and strategy here, staying out. Bora Alka not closing up on CJH either. So what we've got here is a race between the slick tyre racers and a race between the intermediate tyre racers, but the gaps are opening up at the front of the field. It looks like Epic the Animal is going to remain second at this moment in time. Mint Kestrel dropping back as well, so even when DRS is enabled, he'll be outside of that. And then all the way 23 seconds back, we've got B29, who could, in theory, oh, not quite actually, no, he's 10 seconds ahead of the car behind, but he could box and come out ahead of Dan Lutonian in sixth still. But so far, actually, it's worth pointing out, Alpine, who have had a pretty miserable start to the season, are on for good points here as a team.
They are. They are. They are, both of them within the points. And actually, CJ is 1.2 behind Dan at the moment, 1.3.
Well, he's going to
they
get
are
at the
staying
end anyway
with
because of that penalty that Dan Lutonian has got.
Yes.
But yeah, they're good points for Alpine. You know, both of them sit 6th and 7th, right next to each other. I hope they work together towards the end of this race, because otherwise they could end up messing themselves up. But they've made the right call, and they pulled themselves into a good point scoring position. They're going to have a good weekend here in Shanghai.
So I'm just on board with Bora at the moment, just trying to see if they are actually still struggling.
Yeah, I think Bora, the crossover period is just starting to end. And Bora looks like he might be starting to gain some pace. The other thing that's difficult as well is when you have been driving on the wet tyres and you sort of, you know, don't really trust the grip because it is wet, to then go onto the slick tyres. Sometimes it's difficult to trust the grip still. Even though there is grip on the track, you're reluctant to put your foot down onto the floor because of the
Yes.
things you've been experiencing. Although Mint Kestrel's gone onto medium tyres there with 2 laps to go in this race. What has he done? He's dropped behind Epic the Animal. Does he think he'll catch him? How many seconds is he behind?
And is B29 going to get him? Are we going to get a B29 podium?
Yeah, B29, just 1.2 seconds off of Mint Kestrel. Maybe. No, that crossover area is gone now. Mint Kestrel has dropped him by 0.3 of a second through one corner. Or make that 0.6 of a second. DRS enabled. So yeah, B29 has been caught out there. Well, not caught out. He couldn't catch him, sorry. So he's just missed out on a podium place. Mint Kestrel, though, may have made the move for the softer stuff, for the slick tyres a bit too late. It's 24 seconds off Epic the Animal with 2 racing laps of this race to go. Will he catch him, Line?
I'm not sure.
He needs 10 seconds to lap,
I'm
and it's
not
just
sure.
Not gonna happen,
It's not going to happen. No, the crossover period isn't that strong. You know, if there was a lot more grip out there, then maybe, but there isn't.
Epic, though, and Imad still out on the intermediate tyres. Epic a whole 6 seconds off of Imad now. Looks like Imad might have this one wrapped up because no slick tyre runners are going to catch him by the looks of it. Bora Alcan, though, still 12 seconds off CJH. So it's either mediums are knackered or sliding around, or that we're still.
Oh no, he's catching.
Yeah, very slightly, but I feel like the mediums could be.
No, he's not very slightly anymore. He's almost caught by a second.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to catch him in the race. Looks like the Alpines
They are struggling.
Points, but what? Can we see how many seconds is that time penalty?
You can see. Bear with me.
Yeah, 3 seconds. Yeah, 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, unless Bora Alcan can get in between, cut that deficit down to sort of about 9 seconds behind CJH.
Right, B29 is in as well.
Then Alpines will remain where they are. B29 in for slick tyres. I thought that might mess him up here. Because Dan will get him down the main straight.
And Detective has got him as well.
Yeah, Detective's got him. Dan Newtonian will just pass him, but he might be just close enough to chase him down. Yeah, he's just behind the Alpine of Dan Newtonian. Bumps him out the way. He's just going to have to let that one go the Alpine, I think. Because that Aston Martin's going to be way quicker on them softer tyres now. But he's not going to catch up 12 seconds in a lap. Why has he made that decision, I wonder? He's given away a good position there. 20 seconds the gap now between Mint and Epic as we are about to head on to the final lap. Intermediate runners still out in the lead. See, them gaps are closing up now, but they're just too late in the race. Mint Kestrel has given away a second place here in this race, I feel. Unless he thought he was going to start giving away crazy amounts of time because his intermediates were so poor. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Maybe he's just played the safe game just so he can make sure he stays on the track. I'm not entirely sure here. But we're gonna stay with Imad, who is the leader coming into the last lap here. He won the sprint. He won the opening race in Bahrain as well. Obviously had a bit of a lower down weekend last weekend, but looks to be returning to pace here in Shanghai as we come round that right-hander here on the final lap. He's catching up with somebody towards the back of the pack there as well, though, so it looks to be a McLaren perhaps, I think. He looks like he's got this wrapped up. He's a whole 24 seconds ahead of Mint Kestrel in third, and he's a whole 7.5 seconds ahead of Epic the Animal in second. So it looks like Epic and Imad have got this one wrapped up for P1 and P2. It looks like most of the grid have got this one wrapped up. The only close battle we've got here is Kizzy closing up to Bora Alcan, who's just 0.6 of a second off the McLaren. We'll monitor that one, but we'll follow Imad through the final corners here. So we can look at his crossing of the line. So Imad round the final corner before the main back straight, comes down there, dumps a load of battery on them intermediate tyres. Comes into the hairpin, out of the hairpin, got caution sector 2. But Imad here, as he rounds the final corner, will win his second race of the season here in Shanghai and takes first place It'll be Epic the Animal that will follow him round in second, a whole 8 seconds behind him. And Mint Kestrel looks like he'll round off the podium. Let's jump in though with this battle between Kizzy and Bora Alkan as we are about to approach the final section of the track. He looks as if he's going to
Keep
get
eyes
DRS.
on E29 as well, because Detective has a 3-second time penalty and he's 4/10 away.
Yep, we'll tune in on that one first, because that's closer. Like you say, he is 3.3, 3.2 off of him now. Will he catch him before? He should do, because he's on the medium tyres and the car in front's on intermediates. So through these next 3 corners, he's in the within 3 seconds now. Unless he loses a load for this final corner. He's got him by the looks of it, and he'll regain his 4th place there, B29. So well played by him. Kizzy hasn't got the McLaren going down the main straight. We'll stick behind him here as we come into the final corner, and he will end up in 9th position. But what a race that was. That final crossover period when the track drive back up again made it incredibly interesting. But Imad, what a drive from him, Lime. Lime, are you there? Well, I take it Lime's not there, but yeah, what a drive from Imad. An incredible finish to the race. Epic the Animal, of course, coming in second, so he'll get a decent point score. So Mint Kestrel rounding off the podium. But it was a real split call between the wet tyres and the slick tyre runners at the end of that race. I was just saying, Lime, I think you're back now. What a drive from Imad.
Yeah, so I agree there. Played it perfectly into his hands. And he was patient as well.
Yeah, he was patient, and he also drove incredibly well when it went back to right on those intermediates. So Imad will take the top spot here in the Chinese Grand Prix. The American Epic the Animal will take second on the podium, and Mint will take third, the Brit. Champagne is sprayed. We've got our top 3 cars of the Grand Prix, and we'll just give you a final little round off before we close off here today. So the game has awarded Driver of the Day to Dan Lutonian, cleanest driver to Mint Kestrel, but let's just have a look at our rundown here. Imad takes the win here in Shanghai. Epic the Animal will take second place. Mint Kestrel third, B29 fourth, PSR Bora Alkan 5th, Detective Midge 6th, CJH in 7th. A good points haul for the Alpine. The other Alpine of Dan Lutonian, though, coming in 10th. Oh, that's the results for the weekend, sorry. The race, sorry, where the 2 Alpines. Oh, CJH finished 6th in the end. Bora Alkan in 7th, 8th for Kizzy, 9th for Dan Lutonian. It's timed out on me there, unfortunately. But yeah, what a weekend. The sprint race mixed with the main race. There was lots of action there. Lime, summarise that for me, mate. Lime? Well, Lime's not there. I will summarise it. What a weekend. What a race. We'll be back next week, I believe, for Miami in both F2 and F1. A brilliant weekend of racing here in the Formula 1 division of the TFR Season 24. Again, I've been Oracle. I've been joined by Lime, who unfortunately is no longer with me. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next Monday.